Hi, I'm John ANLIAN, and I'll be talking to you today about the legal issues involving shade tree commissions on a county level, on a municipal level, or shade tree programs here in New Jersey. I'm an attorney here in New Jersey. I have my law office in Fairview, Bergen County, and I live in Richfield Park, which is a short distance from my office. I grew up in Richfield Park. I've been on the municipal governing body for 40 years, and I'm currently the mayor in Richfield Park. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from the State University of New York College of Environmental Science and Forestry at Syracuse University, so I have more than a passing interest in trees. So let's talk about the laws, the origination of all power. The original of all power comes from the people. Back in the 60s and 70s, the slogan was power to the people, but it really is power from the people. New Jersey, if you live in New Jersey, you have two constitutions which apply to you. The United States Constitution, which was adopted by the people of the United States of America, by the people and by the states. And in New Jersey, we have a constitution, the most recent version being from 1947. And again, the people voted and approved that Constitution. The Constitution, as you've learned in grammar school and high school, uh, creates three branches of government: the legislature, the executive, the governor in this case, and the courts, the judiciary. The legislature passes the laws, the executive implements the laws, carries out the laws, and the courts make decisions as to the interpretation of the laws, and they also resolve private disputes. So in New Jersey, the New Jersey legislature adopted a law which authorized municipalities and counties to adopt ordinances creating shade tree commissions. And the basic ordinance um, in New Jersey, when municipalities were forming shade tree commissions and adopting these ordinances, they basically took the language right out of the state statute and adopted that language as their ordinance in creating a shade tree commission. And that's what I would call the basic ordinance, the enabling or creation of the shade tree commissions. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Shade tree commissions, as with all types of entities, agencies, committees, and so forth, are always creatures of the state, meaning that the state legislature authorizes the municipality or county to form some type of a committee, in this case shade tree commissions, and therefore the committee or commission or board has powers based upon that legislation. Well, the legislation in New Jersey to create shade tree commissions says, and I'm just going to read from the legislation, it says that a shade tree commission will provide for the regulation, planting, care, and control of shade trees, ornamental trees, and shrubbery. Where? Upon and in the streets, highways, public places, parks, and parkways of the municipality. Or if it's on a county level, then it's within the county. And are there exceptions to that? Yeah. The municipality has no jurisdiction over the areas along state highways unless the state consents to that, and it has no power over county roads if the county has its own shade tree commission. So it's limited. And of course, the language that says trees, ornamental trees, and the shrubbery in the streets and highways, it's really talking about the public rights of way. All right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up shortly. So who appoints the members of the Shade Tree Commission? The mayor and the council. The mayor makes the designation. It's approved by the municipal governing body. And once you have a shade tree commission, you have two important posts on that commission. And that is the chairman, the person who runs the commission, and the secretary. The chairman is chosen by the members of the Shade Tree Commission, and the secretary is hired or appointed by the Shade Tree Commission. Now, how many members are on the Shade Tree Commission? Originally, the membership was 5. But going back, I think in the late 80s, early 90s, it was realized that the issues that were presented to Shade Tree Commissions were becoming a little bit more involved, might need more people. So you can have a Shade Tree Commission with 5 members or 7 members, plus, in both cases, you should have 2 alternates. 2 alternate members, so that if one of the regular members is not available, misses a meeting, one of those alternates can then vote. And when you appoint alternate members, it should be alternate number 1 and alternate number 2. So if one regular member is missing a meeting, then alternate number 1 can vote. And likewise, if 2 members are missing, then alternate number 1 and alternate number 2 can vote. Now, a member of a Shade Tree Commission is appointed for a 5-year term. If you're just forming a Shade Tree Commission, and let's say you just have a 5-member board, then 1 member will be appointed for 1 year, 1 member will be appointed for 2 years, 3rd member for 3 years, and so forth. This way, every year, at least 1 member is coming up for reappointment. And so this also gives some control to the mayor and the municipal governing body. And who are the 2 most important people on the Shade Tree Commission are the chairman. Chairman gets elected by the Shade Tree Commission members, and the secretary. The secretary is appointed. The secretary is a paid position, and you should make sure that your secretary is computer literate, knows how to communicate with emails and text messages, and otherwise to be very efficient. Richfield Park, we have a very good secretary, so if information, complaints, inquiries, requests come in, she knows how to channel those inquiries or requests. Sometimes it will go to the chairman. If it's an issue that involves looking at a tree to determine whether it should be removed or pruned or something, then it goes to our certified tree expert, and then he will then make a determination and then make a recommendation and advise the Shade Tree Commission. So on an annual basis, you should be electing, re-electing your chairman. And if you'd like, you can have a vice chairman. If the chairman is going to be absent on occasion, you can have a vice chairman, and you can have a treasurer. But by state statute, you must have a chairman, and that person is elected in your organizational and reorganizational meetings. So if you've just formed your Shade Tree Commission, one of the first things will be to have an organizational meeting to elect a chairman for 1 year. And then you should appoint your secretary. And again, this is not an easy job. You need a lot of coordination, because if you don't, then people will start to complain about the fact that the Shade Tree Commission is not doing its job. And another thing that you should keep in mind, one of the other things you should do, if you have, a lot of Shade Tree Commissions have been in existence for quite a while, but not all of them have approved rules of procedure. What are rules of procedure? Well, it's a certain set of rules on how to conduct your meetings, how to adopt resolutions, and so forth. Now, the most common, most popular rules of procedure are what are called Robert's Rules of Order. And I happen to have a copy here. This is actually Robert's Rules of Order revised. It's the 1915 edition. And you'd say to yourself, gee, is there that much information about rules? Well, there are, yeah. And I would highly recommend that every shade tree commission, every shade tree committee, if you don't have a commission, should get one of these books. This is a terrific book. It's great for insomnia. If you can't sleep, you start reading this and you'll be asleep in a few minutes. And there are other versions of this. This is Robert's Rules of Order revised, and this is Robert's Rules of Order newly revised. And there are a lot of other books on procedure. There's this really handy thing. I got this in the bookstore many years ago, and you can see where it has like half pages. One page will lead to another. It's kind of cool. It's called Parliamentary Law at a Glance. Then if you don't like Robert's rules, you're tired of his rules, you can always get Merriam-Webster's, upside down, Merriam-Webster's Rules of Order. And if that really throws you and you're not really sure as to whether or not you understand this, you can always rely on the Complete Idiot's Guide to Robert's Rules. All helpful. And it's very good because sometimes you have disputes. I'll give you an example. If somebody's going to make a resolution, I move that we do this. If there is not someone else who will second that motion, then it does not get discussed and it's over. So you need a resolution to be made and then a second, then you can discuss it and then you can vote on it. And that last part is important. I've gone to many meetings of all types of organizations. Somebody makes the motion and it's seconded. They have a long discussion and then they just move to the new topic. They never adopt the resolution. And that's what you're going to have to make sure you do. Now, one way of making sure you follow those rules is the secretary is keeping a record of your meeting. It's called the minutes of your meeting. And it's not a verbatim, word for word, written transcript of what happened. The minutes are a written recording of what takes place, a summary. Okay, on occasion, if it's an interesting discussion, it might the secretary might say that the chairman recommended this, and Mary Jones said this, and John Rodriguez said this, and so forth. Okay, but you don't need it. It's a summary. It's a summary of what took place. You don't need to go back and forth on what everybody said. You had a discussion, and you should maintain those minutes. These days, a lot of shade tree commissions, a lot of boards and agencies of all municipalities now post the minutes on their website. Now, you don't post them, and you don't post the minutes, and they're not official minutes until they are approved by the Shade Tree Commission. So one of the items on your normal meeting agenda would be that for the approval of the minutes of the prior meeting or prior meetings. And again, someone has to make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of August such and such. Someone has to second it, and then it'll be voted on. Now, all meetings of the Shade Tree Commission of your organization are required to be in public, and you have to give proper notice of when and where the meetings are going to take place. Typically, in most municipalities, the borough clerk will send a notice to the local newspapers. In Richfield Park, it would be the Bergen Record, the Star Ledger, and or the Jersey Journal. And it gives a listing of the dates and times and place for all of the Shade Tree Commission meetings. Actually, when the notice goes out, they list Planning Board, Board of Adjustment, Board of Recreation, Shade Tree Commission, Environmental Commission, and so forth. So that's done. And all meetings are open to the public. The only time you can go into an executive or private session is if the subject matter is of a private nature or a confidential nature. Example, if you're going to be discussing personnel of the Shade Tree Commission, or if you're going to be discussing litigation or potential litigation, you can go into closed session. How do you go into closed session? Somebody makes a motion that you're going into closed session or executive session to discuss certain litigation or to discuss a personnel matter, whatever it is. Someone else has to second the motion, and then you go into closed session. And you should indicate when the minutes of the closed session will be made available. Sometimes it will never be made available because it's a personnel item. If it's litigation, then the results of the minutes of that meeting might be available to the public to review after the conclusion of the litigation. So keep that in mind. Notice of meetings. You have to provide at least 48 hours advance notice of your meetings. So if you want to have a special meeting concerning some issue, that's fine. But you have to post the notice of the meeting on your municipal bulletin board, on your website, in the library, wherever you post the notices, and also notify the local newspapers. You don't have to publish the notice in the newspaper, but you must notify the newspapers of the fact that you're having the meeting. What do you do in an emergency? In an emergency, you provide the notice as quickly as you can. Let's say you have to meet tomorrow. Well, that's not 48 hours notice. It's only going to be 24. But if it's a real emergency, you will put the notice out. You'll explain why you're giving short notice. It's because of an emergency, whatever that issue it is. But be careful on that. Not every issue that you think is important is going to be an emergency. Agendas. And you'll see, I'm also, by the way, I will also be providing as part of my program a checklist of items to remind you of different things. It's 2 pages, nothing spectacular, but you should have an agenda. The Robert's Rules of Order, the Rules of Order will give you an example of what should be on your agenda, the basic information. One of the absolute first things that you should be putting on your agenda is that the chairman should announce compliance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. And the statement should be, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been given to the Bergen Record, the Asbury Park Press, whoever, on December 31st, 2019, has been posted on our municipal bulletin board and website. You make that announcement at the beginning of every single meeting. Then you can do a flag salute. If you do the flag salute, you might want to have approval of the minutes of the prior meeting. You're going to do a roll call to make sure that all members are there, and so forth. Like I said, in that little handout I will provide you, you'll see an example of an agenda. I think we might have reached a point where you could take a short break. But before you do, let me mention something. I should have said this earlier. You're getting a ton of information from me and all the other speakers, and guess what? You're not going to remember half of this stuff. And of course, we're giving you handouts. I'm going to be giving you that checklist. That will help you and remind you of a lot of this information. But you just can't remember all of this. I took a course in applied communications when I was in college, and one of the things I remember from the course is the average person has to hear something at least 6 times before they really remember it. So relax, listen to this program, look at the checklist, and you'll do fine. See you in a couple of minutes.